This is my personal journey. When I was 4 years old, I had been raised in a Christian home, and that was when I first professed my faith. I was at my grandparents' home, and everyone was sitting around the dinner table, and it was a nice little time. It was just my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, my parents, and it was before a big meal, so everyone bowed their heads to pray. Now, I wasn't sitting at the table for some reason, and I don't remember why, but I just remember that it was the first time that I really realized that prayer meant something. And I think it was during my grandfather's prayer that I realized that he was actually talking to a real person who was really listening and really cared about what he was saying. So that was the first time that I said, in my own heart, I prayed and said, you know, God, I know there's someone there. It wasn't exactly the perfect, dear Jesus, please come into my heart, amen. But it was the first time that I recognized God, and that was the God of Elijah and Abraham. I knew it was that God that I was praying to. But that was the first time that I accepted Christ into my heart. And then, the only time also. But then, I didn't tell my parents for a couple weeks. I don't know why, but I just kind of kept it to myself, I was happy, it was nice. So then I told my parents, and they were all excited, and why didn't you tell me? So that was when I first gained salvation. But then 4 years later, when I was 8, is when I was baptized. And we waited those 4 years because my parents wanted to make sure I fully understood what I was accepting, the gospel that I was professing. And at 8 years old, I got baptized in a nice, clear lake up in Vermont. It's a little cold, but the one thing I remember about that was before I was baptized, I was sitting out on a chair next to the beach, just reclining, kind of looking off at the clouds and really thinking about what I was about to profess to the general Christian community. And it was a feeling of a lot of excitement, because I knew that this was a step that I was taking, that I was saying to everyone that I am going to serve Christ with my life, and I'm going to dedicate that to Him. So that's what I did at 8 years old. So then for the next 6 years or so, I had in my heart the desire to go into missions. Now, I didn't know what that looked like. A lot of that was related to some Bible smuggler stories my mom had read to me, and just hearing about all sorts of different exciting stories of missionaries. And that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a Bible smuggler, or someone going into the jungles of Africa and avoiding cannibals and that sort of thing. I thought that would be awesome, and bring them the gospel. But at about 13 or 14 is when I started to lose some of that passion and get more distracted with the things of life, like girls and music and TV and all that sort of thing that just weighed down on me and really started to draw me away from the passion that I had had before. So I like to call it my rededication, although I don't think I ever lost my salvation, and I never had a time of real rebellion. It was just a time of lost focus. And my rededication came at about the age of 16 or 17, is when I began to realize that I wasn't really doing anything with my life. And I still had this passion, I still had a desire to serve God, but it just I hadn't done anything with it. So at about 16 or 17 is when I decided, that's what I want to do with my life. I really want to dedicate it to Christ. And part of that was the decision of where to go to college. So it was a lot of prayer, because for a long time I thought, I don't want to go to college. I just want to go into the workforce, just earn money. I don't like school. So that was my thought process. But I started feeling like I needed to go to college and needed to learn more specifically about my Christianity, about the Bible, and about all that. Because even though my dad had been a pastor, it wasn't necessarily something I focused on that much. So Lancaster Bible College came into play here because they offer these great jumpstart classes, where if you come in as a senior or a junior, they will allow you to take a free class. So I took a class with Mr. Rick Rhodes and Mrs. Deborah Hinkle. And that was the Foundations of Leadership, I think was the name of the class. The point is, it was an absolutely wonderful class. It really changed my outlook on ministry and just higher Christian education and what that looked like. So I really attribute, actually, where I am right now to especially Rick Rhodes. He's a great guy. But it was that class both put me on the track to LBC, and it also is where I really started to feel that burning for youth ministry. Because that's been something I've thought about. I really enjoyed camp ministry, youth ministry, that sort of thing. But that's when I really felt that desire. And so here I am. So the question is, where will I be next? And I hope God answers that for me. The end.